I need you to stop what you are doing right now. I mean that. I open letters at this table every single day. Digital letters from the divine, carried on USB drives, sealed in envelopes, delivered to this address for the people they were written for. Every single day. I have opened dozens of these, hundreds, letters for people in pain, letters for people on the edge of breakthrough, letters for people who had stopped believing anything good was still coming for them. I know what a divine letter looks like. I know what it feels like in my hands. I know how to read the seal, read the label, read the date, and know what I am holding before I ever break the wax. So when I tell you that this envelope, this one right here, stopped me cold the moment I picked it up this morning, I need you to understand that I am not saying that for effect. Something is different about this one. Look, 21 days. This envelope has been sealed for 21 days, sitting in the stack, waiting, while every other letter that arrived in those 3 weeks was opened and delivered. This one was held, with a single instruction written on the outside. Do not open before this date. That date is today. I have been looking at this envelope for 3 weeks, and I want to be honest with you. There were mornings I almost opened it early, not out of impatience, out of the feeling that whoever this was written for might need it sooner, that maybe 21 days was too long to wait. But I didn't open it, because the instruction was clear, and the instruction was right, because whoever receives this letter today is ready for it today in a way they were not ready 3 weeks ago. Something has happened in the last 21 days that had to happen first. You know what I am talking about. Even if you cannot name it yet, you know. Now, I am going to open this envelope in front of you right now. But first, I need to say one more thing, because I open many letters here, and most of them are extraordinary, genuinely extraordinary. The words that come through these envelopes are not ordinary words. They carry weight. They carry frequency. They carry things that people cannot explain after they receive them except to say, that letter knew things about me that I had never told anyone. I am used to that. What I am not used to is what I felt when I picked this specific envelope up this morning. I felt like it was already open, like the words inside it had already been moving, like whatever was sealed in here 21 days ago had been pressing against the inside of this envelope, active and alive and waiting for 3 weeks. Building. I have never felt that before. So if you are watching this right now, if something made you press play today when you could have kept scrolling, I believe with everything in me that this letter is yours, and that the 21 days it has been building have been building specifically for this moment. Your moment. Let's open it. A USB drive. The letter itself, digitally encoded, ready to play on the screen beside me. Printed photographs, color photographs, sealed in here as visual signs. The letter will instruct me exactly when to show each one. I do not look at them ahead of time. I show them when the letter says to show them. And printed declaration cards, black and white, prophetic words that arrived with this letter as spoken decrees. I will hold each one up and read it aloud at the exact moment the letter indicates. These are not my words. I am simply the one holding them. Now. I have opened a great many envelopes at this table. I have never introduced one quite like this. Pay attention to every word. The letter begins.
There is a message that was sealed. It was sealed 21 days ago in the heavenly courts, held under divine custody, guarded through 3 full weeks of sacred preparation, and released today. Not yesterday, not next week, today, because the one it was written for was not ready to receive it until this exact moment, and that one is you. Hear me now. I am Michael, the Archangel, commander of heaven's armies, carrier of divine fire, voice of God's most urgent truth to his children on this earth. And before a single other word passes between us, you must understand what it means that I am speaking to you. I do not travel from the heavenly realm for ordinary purposes. I am not dispatched to entertain. I am not sent to comfort souls with empty warmth that dissolves before nightfall. When I am commissioned to reach a specific soul, it is because a critical threshold has been reached in that soul's divine timeline. Something is either about to open or about to be permanently missed. And the difference between those two outcomes comes down to this moment. This single, irreversible, heaven-appointed moment of stillness and reception. This is that moment for you. You receive many messages. I know this. Every morning your world is flooded with voices claiming divine authority. And most days, you scroll past. Most days something deep in you says, not this one. Not today. But today, something made you stop. Today, something in the innermost chamber of your spirit said, wait, this one carries something different. And I am telling you now with the full weight of my heavenly commission, behind every word. Trust that. What you felt in the moment you paused was not idle curiosity. It was not coincidence. It was recognition. It was the ancient, undeceivable compass of your soul responding to the precise frequency of the message it was created to receive, before your conscious mind could analyze a single thing about it. Now, that sealed letter I described, I have been carrying it for 21 days, and while heaven held it in divine custody, your life was moving through a deliberate, specific, divinely ordered preparation. You may not have experienced those 21 days as preparation. You likely experienced them as hardship, as confusion, as the disorienting sensation of something shifting around you that you could not yet see or name. You experienced unusual dreams. You felt a heaviness that lived differently from ordinary tiredness, a weight that pressed just beneath the surface of your daily functioning and resisted every rational explanation you reached for. That was not random. That was preparation, and it is complete, and the letter is now open. Breathe. Right now. Whatever you are carrying into this moment, the worry grinding against your chest, the weariness that has become your constant companion, the hope that has been battered but is not yet broken. Set it beside you. I am not asking you to pretend it does not exist. I am asking you to create interior space large enough to receive what was sealed specifically for you. Heaven does not require your life to be tidy before it sends its most critical communications. Heaven sends its most critical communications precisely into the mess, precisely into the middle of the storm, precisely into the season when everything looks most uncertain and most resistant to change. Because those are the moments when the soul is listening at its deepest level. Are you listening? Good. Then we begin with the truth. There are 3 signs that have already been sent to you. I'm going to name them. And I am not asking whether you believe this. Your spirit will confirm every word before I finish speaking it. Most souls receive these signs without recognizing them for what they are. They dismiss them. they explain them away. They file them under coincidence and move forward. And they wonder later why heaven seemed silent, when heaven was in fact speaking at full volume directly at them. That will not happen to you. Not today. Not with what is being released over your life right now. The first sign arrived as an inexplicable, persistent pull toward stillness. In the ordinary noise and forward movement of your days, there began to be moments when something inside you simply wanted to stop, to sit in quiet, to exist in an interior silence that felt unusual, almost uncomfortable in its sheer intensity. You tried to explain it as fatigue. You dismissed it. But it came back, again and again, like a hand pressing firmly on your shoulder, demanding you turn around. That was not fatigue. That was heaven forcibly creating the conditions your soul required to become receptive to what was being prepared. That pull toward stillness was the first preparation for this exact moment you are now standing in. The second sign arrived in your sleep, not necessarily as a dream with a clear and interpretable story, more often as a dream that left only a feeling, a mood that persisted through your morning and into your afternoon and refused to fully release its grip on the rest of your day. A sense of something critically important sitting just at the edge of comprehension. A sense that someone deeply familiar was near, very near, speaking in a frequency just beneath your conscious hearing. You reached for it when you woke, and it faded, but the weight of it stayed. Hear this clearly. That was not your subconscious recycling the previous day. That was heaven conducting direct communication in the one space where your analytical mind cannot interrupt and override and neutralize what is being delivered. Your sleeping hours have been a sustained point of divine contact. And what was spoken to your spirit in those hours has already been received and stored, even if your waking mind cannot yet fully access it. The third sign arrived as the sudden and unexplained surfacing of grief. Not necessarily grief connected to recent events, grief that felt older, deeper, grief that seemed disproportionate to the immediate circumstances that triggered it. An old face that appeared without invitation. A song that struck with unexpected and overwhelming force. Tears that arose from something that should have been ordinary, and you could not explain why. Do not pathologize that. That was not emotional instability. That was your soul making room. Because what is moving toward your life right now, the magnitude of blessing, of love, of divine fulfillment now in motion, requires space and grief when it is permitted to move through the soul cleanly, rather than being suppressed and managed and pushed back down, is the mechanism by which the soul creates that space. That surfacing of old sorrow was heaven's clearing operation. Heaven was preparing you.
The letter has paused here to show you something. This photograph was printed and placed in this envelope before it was sealed. Look at this carefully. This is not decoration. This image was chosen to speak to you at this exact moment of the letter, just as the first three signs were being described. Hold what you see in your spirit as the letter continues. The letter continues.
all three signs have already appeared in your life. I know this. Your spirit confirmed it before I finished the description. And the fact that all three are present, the pull towards stillness, the sleeping communications, the unexplained grief, means the preparation is complete. The container is ready. The seal is broken. And what was written in this letter, what has been under divine custody for 21 days, is now being placed in your hands. Receive it, beloved soul. I am going to speak to your current reality now with complete and undecorated honesty. No diplomatic softening, no careful management of what might be difficult to hear. The full truth, because you deserve to be genuinely, completely seen. There's a specific kind of exhaustion that comes from carrying the weight of everyone around you without anyone carrying any of it for you. And you know this exhaustion at a cellular level. This is not the tiredness of physical labor. This is something far deeper and far more costly. It is the tiredness that settles permanently into the bones of a person who has been relied upon without ever being replenished. When the giving has been continuous, genuine, and enormously costly to the giver, and the receiving has been intermittent, insufficient, or entirely absent. When the questions, "How are you doing?" and "What do you need?" have been directed at you so infrequently that you have nearly forgotten how to answer them honestly. When you have become so utterly practiced in the role of the one who holds things together that the people in your world have stopped thinking to ask whether you yourself are being held together by anything at all. I have seen your mornings, the specific ones, the mornings you made your coffee and stood at the window and felt an ache you could not name with precision. Not depression exactly, not sadness exactly. Something more like hunger, a profound, bone-deep hunger for someone to see you. Not the version of you that manages and organizes and shows up and solves and holds space and carries burdens. The version that lives underneath all of that. The version that has its own longings, its own dreams that have been deferred so many times they have started to feel like embarrassments. The version that wants to be chosen, not for what it contributes, not for what it endures, not for what it manages, but simply and completely for what it is when the performance finally stops. You are seen. I am looking at you right now with the full, unobstructed clarity of heavenly sight, and what I see is not someone who has fallen short. What I see is someone whose faithfulness has been extraordinary, and whose season of overflow is now moving with irresistible divine force to meet that faithfulness. Full force today. But I must speak to something deeper before we advance further. There is a wound beneath the exhaustion, a wound that was not formed recently, a wound that predates your current circumstances by years, possibly by decades, a wound formed in your earliest seasons of learning what love was and what it required. It is the wound of conditional acceptance, the subtle, devastatingly powerful, life-reshaping experience of learning early that love came with requirements, that belonging had conditions, that you were most acceptable, most valued, most safe when you were performing correctly, achieving the right standard, suppressing the inconvenient needs, presenting the appropriate face. Love was not freely given. It had to be earned, and you had to figure out the formula. You learned it quickly. You are intelligent and perceptive, and you understood what was required, and you built your entire life with extraordinary, exhausting skill upon the framework of those conditions. You became someone who earned their place, who justified their presence, who made sure their own needs were small enough not to burden anyone, who gave generously and consistently and without ceasing as a way of saying, "Please keep me. Please do not withdraw. Please do not look too closely and discover that what I am underneath all this giving is not enough. Listen to me now and receive every word that follows as direct heavenly declaration." The framework was wrong. The conditions were not real. The love you spent years calibrating yourself to earn was never the full measure of what you were worth. You were not born into this world to earn your belonging. You were born into this world already belonging, completely, without condition, without performance requirement, without the exhausting, soul-shrinking necessity of making yourself small enough for other people's comfort. Heaven has known your name since before the foundations of this world were set in place, and heaven's knowledge of your name has never once been contingent on your performance. Not when you succeeded, and not when you fell apart, completely. Not when you were strong, and not when you were broken beyond recognition. Not when you showed up correctly, and not when you showed up as the most absolute mess you have ever been. Always, completely, without condition. That is the love that was the original truth of your existence. And today, by the direct authority and command of the one who sent me, that original truth is being restored to its rightful throne at the very center of how you understand yourself.
The letter pauses here to speak a declaration over you. This was printed and sealed in this envelope. This word was written for this exact moment, as your identity is being restored. Hear it. Let that land, the letter continues.
Now, write something in the comments for me. Type the word fire right now. Just that one word, fire. Because something is being ignited in your spirit in this exact moment, a divine fire of identity, of sacred purpose, of unshakable worth, that years of conditional love and deferred dreams and quiet exhaustion nearly extinguished. I say nearly, because it never went completely out. It could not go out. Heaven placed that fire in you, and only heaven can extinguish it. And heaven has no intention of extinguishing it. Today it is being stoked. Today the divine breath of heaven is blowing through that flame with full, deliberate force. Type fire. Declare it. Let it be your public agreement with what heaven is restoring in you right now. Before I advance to the most urgent portion of this entire sealed message, I need to ensure heaven has a clear, unobstructed pathway to continue reaching you. This channel, Letters from Archangel Michael, exists for one purpose and one purpose alone: to be the vessel through which heaven delivers its appointed communications to the specific souls who were designated to receive them. Every message released through this channel arrives at a divinely timed moment, not as general content. As appointment, if you are not yet subscribed, press subscribe right now. Because your next appointed message is already being prepared and will be released at its divinely designated time. Missing it because you were not subscribed would be the equivalent of leaving your door sealed on the day the most important delivery of your life was scheduled to arrive. Press subscribe. Secure the connection. Do not leave heaven without the pathway it needs to keep reaching you. Now, I must speak about something that has been operating in the unseen dimension of your life with significant, targeted, deliberate force. Because if you continue not understanding it, you will continue interpreting its effects as your personal failure. And I will not allow that misinterpretation to stand. There is a reality in the spiritual dimension that the world does not teach. The heavenly realm is not the only active spiritual reality. There is an opposing force, a spiritual adversary that operates with genuine intelligence, genuine strategic calculation, and genuine specific awareness of what is possible in the lives of the people it targets. And it does not target at random. It targets with precision. It targets souls who carry the specific combination of gifts, depth, compassion, and divine assignment that make them maximally dangerous to the darkness when those souls are walking in their full God-given authority and power. It targets souls like you. I am not saying this to produce fear. I am saying this to expose the lie you have been living under. The lie that says the pattern of things almost working and then not working, of opportunities appearing and then dissolving at the last moment, of relationships building beautifully and then fracturing in ways completely disproportionate to the circumstances, of your own momentum towards something significant being disrupted by something that arrived from nowhere and made no sense. The lie that says all of that is your fault, that it is the result of your choices being wrong, or your faith being insufficient, or something fundamentally broken in you that keeps your blessings perpetually out of reach. That is a lie. And today, I am dismantling it. This was not your fault. This was warfare, systematic, targeted, calculated, personal spiritual interference in the pathway of a soul whose full activation represents an unacceptable threat to the darkness. The adversary did the math. He understands what becomes possible when someone like you operates without restriction in her full divine assignment. He calculated the risk, and his strategy was delay, discouragement, distraction, dismantlement, one closed door at a time, one fractured relationship at a time, one almost but not quite at a time, wearing down your hope from the outside while quietly attempting to convince you the problem was coming from within. Do not mistake this for victimhood. That is not what I am declaring. I am declaring the opposite. The level of sustained, sophisticated, persistent opposition you have faced is itself the most powerful confirmation I can offer you of the magnitude of your divine assignment. Darkness does not deploy significant forces against insignificant targets. The darkness knows what you carry. It understood your assignment before you understood it yourself. And the sustained nature of the warfare against your life is evidence, hard, documented spiritual evidence of exactly how much authority you actually possess. They know who you are, even in the seasons when you have forgotten.
The letter pauses here and it shows you this, right here. At the moment, it is just declared that you have been under targeted spiritual warfare. This image was sealed inside this envelope 21 days ago. Look at it. This is not frightening. This is the answer. This is the one who has been fighting for you. The letter continues.
And here is what I decree over your situation. Today, the force that has been working against your destiny has been losing ground. the battles that have been fought on your behalf in dimensions invisible to your physical sight. Battles I have been personally and directly engaged in as the Archangel commissioned to command divine warfare, have reached their decisive turning point. The strongholds maintaining the obstruction in your pathway, the spiritual structures that have been holding your breakthrough at arm's length, are fracturing. Today, not as a metaphor, as a literal, irrevocable, already in motion spiritual event. It has been set in motion, and it cannot be reversed. This is why the letter was sealed for 21 days. This is why today was not an arbitrary date. Heaven was waiting for the precise moment when the spiritual ground around your life had been sufficiently cleared, when the interference had been sufficiently dismantled to send this communication. Because a message of this magnitude arriving before the clearing was complete would have encountered too much opposition in the atmosphere around you to land with its full devastating power. The preparation had to precede the communication. The preparation is done. The interference is broken. The message has landed, and what begins flowing into your life from this moment will flow without the obstruction that has held it back for far too long. There is a specific prophetic word I am now authorized to release over your life. Receive this not with your analyzing mind, but with the part of you that knows things before it can explain how. Receive it from that place, the place that does not require evidence before it recognizes truth. In the season you are entering, and this season begins today, not at some conditional future point when circumstances become favorable, you will experience a transformation in how you are perceived by everyone around you. Not because you will fundamentally change who you are, but because what has always been true of you internally will begin expressing itself externally with an authority and a clarity it has not previously carried. People will sense something different about you. They will not always be able to name it. They will say you seem lighter, more certain, that something in the way you carry yourself has fundamentally shifted. What they will be perceiving is the removal of the spiritual suppression that has been dimming the expression of everything you carry. What has always lived in you will finally move through you without obstruction. And the effect of that on every person in your orbit will be significant. Because your unobstructed light is not simply for your personal benefit. It carries a healing frequency that others access simply by being near you. This is why you were targeted. This is what the spiritual adversary understood about you before you understood it about yourself. You are not merely a soul navigating your individual journey with dignity. You are a carrier of divine frequency that, when fully unobstructed, becomes a healing force for everyone who enters your sphere. Your children feel it. Your grandchildren will feel it. The friends who have stayed close through the fire feel it. The strangers who cross your path for 30 seconds feel it. This is not something you manufacture or perform or work up to. It is simply what flows from you when the obstruction is removed. And the obstruction is being removed. Today.
The letter pauses here, and it places this declaration over your life. This is a prophetic decree, sealed 21 days ago, arriving at this exact moment as the letter declares your obstruction broken. Hear this word. The letter continues.
Now, I must speak to the area of your life that carries the most specific and pointed ache, not the general weight. The specific, recurring, deeply personal ache that lives in one particular corner of your existence. And for most of the souls, heaven sends me to reach with a sealed message of this magnitude. That corner is the corner of deep belonging. It is the question underneath every other question, the hunger beneath every other hunger, in its most honest, most unguarded form. It sounds like this. Is there someone in this world who wants all of me? Not the useful version, not the strong, capable, holds it together version, not the easy, accommodating, doesn't ask for too much version. All of me. The complicated parts, the parts that have unhealed wounds, the parts that have needs that feel inconvenient, the parts that are uncertain and searching and sometimes afraid. Is there someone who wants all of that and who will stay when they fully see it? This is the question, and I am answering it today with the full authority of the heaven that sent me. Yes, there is. That person exists, and they are moving toward your life right now, with the specific divine assignment of being the complete and uncompromising answer to that question in ways you have not yet experienced in your lifetime. Let me describe them precisely enough that you will recognize them when they arrive and not mistake them for someone ordinary. They will not arrive with fanfare or dramatic announcement. The most significant divine appointments rarely do. They arrive in seemingly ordinary moments. A conversation that begins unremarkably and builds into something that surprises you both with its depth, its ease, its specific quality of genuine arrival. There will be something in their attention that strikes you immediately as different. They will listen. Not listen while formulating their response. Not listen with one eye on their own agenda. They will listen with the full, unhurried, completely present quality of attention that communicates without a single word. What you are saying matters. It is being received. It will be held with care. And after your early encounters with this person, you will notice something that will stop you. You will feel more like yourself, not less. Not managed, not edited, more. Most of the significant relationships of your adult life have required you to calibrate and self-edit and choose which version of yourself is appropriate for this person in this moment. With this approaching soul, that entire exhausting operation will be unnecessary. You will find yourself saying things you normally reserve for your innermost private thoughts, and finding those things met with recognition rather than discomfort. This person has carried similar depths, similar questions, similar privately held intensities that they have rarely shared because they have rarely encountered someone with the capacity to meet them there. That encounter of mutual recognition, two souls meeting at the depth level rather than skimming across the surface, is written in the divine record over your life for this coming season. Whatever form it takes, romantic love, or a friendship of extraordinary caliber, or the deep transformation of an existing relationship, the essential quality will be identical. You will be fully received. And the experience of being fully received after so many seasons of being only partially received will feel exactly and precisely like coming home.
The letter pauses here. It has just spoken about the arrival of the one who will truly see you, and it shows you this image now, sealed in this envelope before any of this was filmed. Look at this. This is what a soul looks like when it finally stops carrying alone. Remember this image as the letter continues to describe what is coming for you. The letter continues.
Now, I must speak about the people who are leaving your life in this season, because the path to what is coming requires clearing, and that clearing will involve people, not only circumstances. Hear this without flinching. There are individuals currently occupying significant space in your daily life who do not have your genuine well-being as their actual priority. I am not declaring them malicious. I am declaring them misaligned. Their presence in your life served a function that once made sense. A function belonging to an older configuration of your story, an older understanding of what you needed and what you deserved and who you were. But you have grown past that configuration. They have not grown with you. And the gap between where you now stand spiritually and where they remain standing has been generating a specific friction in your life, a persistent, low-grade draining of your energy, your peace, and your confidence in your own clear perceptions of reality. You have been sensing this. You have had the knowing about specific people for longer than you have permitted yourself to act on it. There is a voice in you. The quiet, clear, unhurried voice that lives beneath the noise of your daily thinking, that has been speaking truth about certain people for some considerable time, and you have been overriding it with misplaced loyalty, with the fear of misjudging someone, with the discomfort of acknowledging that a person you have genuinely cared about may be incapable of offering you what you have been hoping they would eventually offer. Override that voice no longer. Trust it now, today, not as a weapon, not as a court verdict of judgment against another soul, as the divine discernment instrument it truly is. That internal knowing is not your anxiety speaking. It is not your old wounds projecting. It is heaven's precision guidance system, built into your spirit at the deepest level, calibrated exactly for your protection and your forward movement. And in this specific season of transition, in this critical window, where what is meant to arrive is drawing close, your discernment must operate at full capacity, not be repeatedly overridden by the need to appear fair to people who are not extending you equivalent fairness in return. Heaven is not asking you to become hard. Heaven is commanding you to become wise. There is an enormous, irreducible difference between hardness and wisdom. And wisdom, in this season of your life, looks like trusting what you feel, honoring what you know, and giving yourself the same fierce, protective, intentional stewardship of your own peace and energy that you have always extended without hesitation to everyone else. Type 333 in the comments right now. 3 threes. 333 is the number of divine alignment, heaven, earth, and spirit moving as one in the same direction at the same time. That is precisely what is happening in your life today. All 3 dimensions of your existence are aligning in a configuration they have never before occupied. Type 333. Declare it into the atmosphere of this moment. Let that declaration go out from this comment section with the full weight of heaven behind it.
The letter pauses. It has just spoken about the people who must leave and the discernment that is your divine gift. This declaration was placed in this envelope 21 days ago. It speaks directly to the clearing that is happening in your life right now. Receive it. The letter continues.
Now, I must speak to you about what heaven is doing in your generational line. Because what is being released over your life today does not begin with you. And it does not end with you. You are standing at a specific point in a line of those who came before you and those who will follow after. And what happens in your life in this season carries consequences that ripple with force in both directions along that line. I am authorized today to speak directly over your generational record, to address not only your individual story, but the source in your family's spiritual history that has been feeding the pattern of specific struggles in your life. I declare that what has traveled through that line as inherited wound, as the repeated pattern of loss, of unfulfilled longing, of love that fell perpetually short of what it was meant to be, is being interrupted, not because the people who carried it before you failed, but because the season for interruption has arrived, and you, standing at this exact convergence point of divine timing, are the designated vessel through whom that interruption flows. What you receive in this season will not simply transform your life. It will establish a new standard for every soul in the family line that follows you. Your children, your grandchildren, the generations that come after, will inherit a different story because of what heaven is doing in your life right now. The pattern that has repeated for generations finds its resolution in you. The wound that has been carried finds its healing in you. The blessing that was deferred across multiple generations finds its delivery in you. And that is not too large a declaration. That is exactly the scale at which heaven operates when it moves on behalf of a soul positioned at a generational transition point. You were placed at this exact moment in your family's spiritual history for precisely this reason. Not by accident, not by default, by deliberate divine appointment. Now I am going to give you the specific instructions that arrived with this 21-day sealed message. A prophetic word without practical instruction is a map without directions. Hear these carefully and execute them with precision. In the days immediately following today, beginning tonight and extending through the next 7 days specifically, pay fierce attention to what repeats, not what happens once, what heaven drives at you more than once, a name that surfaces from multiple unconnected directions, a scripture, a phrase, a specific word that finds you in places that have no logical connection to each other, a particular feeling that arises in the presence of a specific person or at the consideration of a specific decision, a dream image that returns on multiple nights. Whatever repeats in this 7-day window, mark it, honor it, treat it as a divinely underlined message. Because heaven does not send its most critical communications through a single, isolated occurrence. Heaven repeats. Heaven is persistent. Heaven will drive the same truth at you from every available angle until the soul receives it. And in this 7-day window, the repetition will be more pronounced than you have previously experienced, because the spiritual atmosphere around your life has been specifically cleared for exactly this level of divine communication.
The letter pauses here. The instructions have just been given. 7 days of divine attention beginning tonight. And this image was sealed inside this envelope to show you what a generational breakthrough looks like when it finally arrives. Look at this carefully. This is what heaven is moving toward in your family line right now. The letter continues.
In the next 7 days, write. This is not a casual suggestion. This is a direct divine instruction for your specific situation. There is something stored in your spirit, a hard-won wisdom, a depth of understanding shaped by everything you have endured and survived and chosen and refused to be destroyed by. That needs to come out of you and find form on the page. Not for publication, not for anyone else. Simply for you to have the experience of watching your own wisdom become tangible, of seeing your own voice occupy space on the page and recognizing it as something real and substantial and worth keeping. This act of writing is part of the spiritual processing that will accelerate the breakthrough currently moving toward your life. In the next 7 days, complete the release. There is an attachment you are still carrying to something that is past. It may be a person. It may be an identity, a role, a version of your future that you spent years building in your imagination. And that did not arrive in the form you had planned. You have been in a liminal relationship with this attachment, not fully holding and not fully releasing, hovering. And the hovering is consuming enormous quantities of the spiritual energy that your breakthrough requires. Completing the release does not mean the loss becomes acceptable or stops being painful. It means you choose, consciously, deliberately, with full awareness of what it costs you, to open your hand and allow what was to move fully into the past where it belongs, so that the present can receive what belongs in it. This specific release, in the specific 7-day window, is the key. Not a key. The key. That unlocks the next movement of your divine story. In the next 7 days, receive without deflecting. This is the most practically challenging of all the instructions I will give you today, because it runs directly and powerfully counter to years of deeply ingrained, carefully constructed habit. When someone extends care to you in the coming days, a kindness, a genuine compliment, an expression of love or appreciation or admiration, receive it. Do not immediately redirect it back to them. Do not minimize it with deflection. Do not rush to return something larger so you do not feel like a burden for having received. Simply say, thank you. Let it land. Let yourself be the recipient for once rather than immediately reverting to the role of giver. This practice of receiving in the small moments is how heaven reprograms your spirit to accommodate the scale of blessing now moving toward you. You cannot receive the large when you persistently deflect the small.
The letter pauses here. The divine instructions have been delivered, and this declaration was sealed in this envelope to go with them. These are not my words. These were written before this envelope was sealed. They are for you at this exact moment of the letter. Hear this. The letter continues.
Now, I must speak to you about what has been happening in your night hours, because the nighttime dimension of your life in recent weeks has been an active, deliberate theater of spiritual preparation. And understanding it will make clear exactly why today carries the specific weight and authority that it does. Sleep is the doorway through which the conscious mind releases its grip on the soul's deeper knowing. Every night when you close your eyes, the filtering mechanisms your waking mind deploys to manage, analyze, and control your experience of reality relax their hold. And in that relaxed state, in the space between full waking consciousness and the deep rest your body requires, there is a window, a specific, brief, exquisitely delicate window, where the soul is simultaneously quiet enough to receive and awake enough to retain what it receives. Heaven has been using that window every night for 21 consecutive nights. What has been deposited in you through those nightly windows does not arrive as conventional information. It does not arrive as a clear message with a clear interpretation. It arrives as orientation, as the deliberate, progressive realignment of your inner compass toward the true north of your divine assignment, as the forcible loosening of fear's grip on the deepest, knowing that lives in you, as the strengthening of something in your spirit that required, strengthening before your waking life could begin to register the breakthrough. You have noticed this, even if you could not name it. There has been a quality to your mornings in recent weeks that is different, a quality of returning from somewhere, not simply waking, returning, carrying something back that you cannot articulate, but that feels significant. That is not imagination. That is the residue of genuine spiritual activity. Your spirit has been working in the night hours on dimensions of preparation that your waking analytical mind would have obstructed and neutralized had they been attempted in daylight. The preparation that happened across those 21 nights. Neil, this message was sealed and held under divine custody, has positioned you to receive what is being released today with a depth of reception that was impossible 3 weeks ago. You are not the same person who entered that 21-night window. Something in your deepest interior has been reorganized, realigned, made ready. And tonight, the quality of your night hours shifts from preparation to activation. What was installed is now beginning to express itself in the visible dimensions of your life. The inner reorganization that took place while you slept is now breaking through to the surface, and the transition from internal preparation to external manifestation may feel initially disorienting, because things will begin moving with a speed and a momentum that feels fundamentally unlike the slow, grinding, often agonizing pace of the previous season. Do not flinch when the pace changes. Do not manage it back into a safer slowness. The movement is divinely authorized. The speed is heaven compensating for the years of enforced delay. Let it move. Let it build. Let it carry you forward with the full force it was designed to carry.
The letter pauses here. Heaven has just spoken about your night hours, the 21 nights of divine preparation while this letter was sealed. And this image was placed in this envelope to show you what that looks like from heaven's perspective. Look at this. The letter continues.
Now I must speak about your voice. And I do not mean the sound that emerges from your throat when you form words. I mean the deeper voice, the one that expresses itself in how you enter a room, in the quality of your presence before a single word is spoken, in what breaks through the carefully managed surface of your everyday communication in unguarded moments and startles people with its clarity, its directness, its specific power to make people feel simultaneously seen and challenged and called toward something better in themselves. That voice has been suppressed, deliberately and systematically, externally, because the environments you have inhabited did not reward the depth and directness your authentic voice carries. They rewarded the performance, the managed version, the accommodated voice, and they responded to the real, unedited, full-volume version with discomfort and withdrawal, and the unmistakable communication that it was simply too much. And internally, because you learned early and thoroughly to protect the people around you from the full weight of what you carry, to modulate, to soften, to deliver yourself in careful, measured portions, rather than in the full measure that actually lives within you. That suppression served a purpose once. It was a survival mechanism built in a specific set of circumstances that once required it. But those circumstances are over. The season that demanded that level of self-reduction has ended, and continuing to suppress the full volume of your voice in the season you are now entering is not protection. It is self-imposed limitation on the very instrument heaven most urgently requires from you in the chapter ahead. The truth about your voice, stated without softening, it has power, not manufactured power, not the amplified kind that requires performance and persona construction and the exhausting cultivation of an impressive image. The raw, unmanaged, unperformed truth of your voice, the things you say when you forget to edit yourself, carries a frequency that moves people, that shifts things in rooms without warning, that leaves people changed in ways they cannot immediately articulate, but will feel for days. That breaks through walls of defended thinking that nothing else has been able to touch. This is not a minor personal attribute. This is a divine instrument, given not for your private use alone, but for the specific blessing of the souls who need to receive it. There are people who have not yet encountered the unedited version of your voice. People whose specific chains of fear and small self-understanding will be shattered by what lives in the fullness of your authentic expression. They are waiting in your circle and far beyond it. And they need you to stop shrinking to a size that feels safe and manageable and start occupying the full scope of the space that was designed for your presence. Today, that expansion begins, and it will not feel like bravery. It will feel like relief. The overwhelming relief of setting down a crushing weight you have carried for so long, you forgot it was possible to put it down. The relief of being precisely and completely the size you actually are in a space that finally has room for every bit of it.
The letter pauses to speak over your voice, your authentic, full, unedited voice. This word was sealed in this envelope and arrives here, at this exact moment in the letter. This is a prophetic declaration over your voice and your presence. Receive it. The letter continues.
Hear this next part with everything in you. because I saved it for this specific moment. It requires the foundation of everything spoken before it in order to fully land. There are people in the heavenly realm who know your name, not as a generality, specifically, personally. There are souls who once walked this earth alongside you, who shared physical space with you, who knew the specific sound of your laugh, who understood the exact way you go quiet when something important is moving inside you. Souls who have crossed from this world to the next, and who in crossing did not leave you. They expanded their awareness of you. They moved from knowing you through the limited, distorted lens of their earthly perspective, with all of its fears and wounds and unfinished business obscuring the view, into knowing you with the full, clear, unclouded vision that comes when every earthly limitation is finally removed. They see you now as heaven sees you, completely, without a single filter of their own fear or unresolved pain. And what they see, there is only one honest word for what it produces in them: pride. An enormous, fiercely protective, unqualified pride. And the specific kind of pride I am describing is not the conditional kind, not the kind that requires achievement or success or the meeting of expectations. It is the pride that arises from watching someone choose to remain tender and open and loving in a world that gave them every justification to become hard and defended and closed, and marveling at the cost of that choice, and loving the soul who keeps making it with a tenderness and a fierceness that physical distance does not diminish by one single measure. They have been near you. You have felt it without being able to name it. The sensation of being accompanied in a completely empty room. The warmth that arrived in a moment of profound loneliness with no earthly source. The sense of a deeply familiar presence in a familiar scent, or a quality of afternoon light, or the unexpected hearing of a specific song. That was not imagination. That was contact. Love, in its most concentrated and most purified form, is one of the few forces in all of creation with sufficient power to maintain a living connection across the boundary that physical death creates. And the love of those watching over you from the heavenly dimension has not been weakened by the distance. It has been concentrated, freed from every earthly limitation that once prevented its full expression. It presses toward you now with more force and more clarity than it could ever carry on this side.
The letter pauses here, and I want to take a moment before I show you this photograph, because what the letter has just spoken about, the souls in heaven who know your name, who have been watching over you, who are proud of you. This image was sealed in this envelope to represent exactly that. Look at this. Someone who loves you is watching. They have not gone. The letter continues.
They are with you today, right now, in this moment. As this message reaches you, a gathering of souls who love you from the heavenly dimension have been given permission to draw close during the opening of this sealed letter. And if you feel something in your chest right now, a tightness, a warmth, a sudden unexpected welling of emotion, that is them, closer than they have been in a long time, saying what could not be said or was left incomplete in the earthly chapter of your story together, saying, I see you, I am proud. I never stopped watching. And where you are walking next, I will be there too. Type the word open in the comments right now. Open. Because that is precisely what this moment requires. An open heart, an open spirit, an open and ready receiving posture toward everything that heaven and every soul who loves you from within it is pouring out over your life today. And to you who have been walking this journey of faith, feeling as though your prayers disappear into silence, as though heaven is sealed above you, indifferent, unreachable. Hear this truth like water breaking over dry ground. The silence was never indifference. The apparent sealing of heaven was never rejection. Every prayer you have ever spoken, every petition, every midnight cry of desperation, every barely coherent offering of whatever thread of faith you could still locate, every single one has been received, recorded, and held in sacred trust. The heavenly record of your prayers is not a record of neglect. It is a record of accumulation, building, concentrating, pressing against the sealed point of release with increasing force with every passing day. The dam is breaking. Today. What flows when it breaks will not arrive in a single overwhelming torrent. Heaven delivers its greatest blessings in a progression that allows the soul to receive and inhabit and integrate each level before the next arrives. Because a blessing that exceeds the soul's current capacity to receive is not truly received. It passes through. Heaven intends what is flowing toward you to remain, to become your new normal. The permanent foundation of the next chapter, rather than a peak you visit briefly and then watch from a distance. The flow will be progressive. You will begin noticing shifts in the quality of the encounters that reach you, in the resonance of specific opportunities, in the ease that enters spaces that have been nothing but friction for years, in the warmth of connections, in the provision that begins moving toward you from directions you are not watching. Pay fierce attention to all of it, especially to the small movements, because the most significant divine deliveries of your coming season will arrive first in quiet, modest packaging. A conversation that announces nothing but changes something fundamental in you. An opportunity that presents itself without fanfare, but carries the seed of something that will grow into one of the central pillars of your new life. An encounter with a specific person that appears to be chance, but is entirely and precisely arranged. Your discernment will recognize it. Your discernment will know. And on that subject, you are not someone who misses things when you are fully awake and fully attending. That is part of your gift. The perceptiveness, the deep sensitivity to what is real beneath what is being presented, the capacity to read between lines, to feel the weight of what is not being said, to know things in your bones before any evidence is available to support the knowing. This gift has sometimes felt like a burden. Sensitive souls feel everything, including the things they desperately wish they could not feel. But in this season of divine activation, this gift is going to be one of your most powerful, most precise navigational instruments. Trust it. Lean into it without apology. Do not minimize it or shrink from it to make others comfortable. It is not a personality quirk. It is technology. Divine technology placed in you with specific intentionality for precisely this season of your life.
The letter pauses. The dam is breaking. The prayers are being answered, and this declaration was sealed 21 days ago to be shown at this exact moment as the flow of answered prayer is being described. This is a decree over your season of accumulation, reaching its release point. Receive it. The letter continues.
Now, I need to ask you a direct question. Answer it not in the comments, not out loud. Answer it in the private, unwitnessed chamber of your own spirit, where only you and heaven have access. How long are you willing to keep settling? How many more seasons of almost? How many more experiences of love that looks correct on the surface, but leaves you still hungry underneath? How many more opportunities that carry the shape of what you need, but not the substance? How many more chapters where you are the supporting character in everyone else's story, while your story waits in the margins with increasing urgency for its turn? I am not asking these questions to manufacture guilt. I am asking them because the answer you give in your spirit is the threshold. The exact threshold you are either willing to cross or you are not. And I am here to tell you, with the full force of the heavenly commission that sent me, I need you to cross it. Today. Not when the circumstances are more favorable, not when the fear has subsided. Today, with the fear exactly as large as it is, and the uncertainty exactly as present as it is, make the decision in your spirit that you are done. Done settling. That decision, made privately, sincerely, from the bedrock of who you truly are, is the single most powerful spiritual act available to you in this moment. More powerful than any formula, more powerful than any accumulation of religious activity. Simply deciding that you are ready. Simply choosing to align your entire spirit with the fullness of what heaven has prepared, rather than continuing to orbit it from a careful, protected, half-committed distance. Make that decision now. I will wait. Good. I received that. The heavenly realm witnessed it, and the angels standing guard over your transition marked the exact moment it occurred. Do not leave before the final declaration. What I am about to speak over you now is the reason this letter was sealed for 21 days. Every word that came before this moment was the preparation for what comes next. The full decree, the complete, specific, authoritative declaration over every area of your life that has been waiting. This is the weight of the letter. This is what heaven held in custody. This is what you were prepared to receive. Do not leave now. Now hear the final declaration. I speak from the direct authority of heaven over your life today. The weight you have carried longer than any human being should carry alone is being lifted, not transferred, not deferred to a future chapter. Lifted permanently by divine hands that are more than sufficient to bear everything you have been bearing alone. The love that was withheld from you by people who had no capacity to give it, by circumstances that blocked its expression, by the protective walls your own spirit constructed to manage the pain of its absence, is being restored in its full measure, without the conditions, the footnotes, the qualifications that have always diminished it before. The purpose that has been pressing against the interior walls of your existence for years, demanding to be released into the world, is being activated. Today is the beginning of the chapter where what was pressing outward finally breaks through, where the gifts that lived privately become publicly expressed, where the voice that modulated and softened and shrank finds its full stage and stands on it without apology. The provision that has been restricted, the resources rerouted away from you by spiritual interference, by circumstances beyond your control, by the accumulated weight of seasons of shortage, is being released. New channels, new doors, new avenues of supply you did not know to look for because they were not yet open. They are opening now. The peace that seemed like a luxury unavailable to someone with your specific burdens and your specific depth of feeling. The settled, bone-deep, unassailable peace of a soul who knows exactly who she is and exactly whose she is being installed permanently as a foundational condition of your life going forward, not an occasional visitor, your new normal, and the recognition, the being fully seen, being genuinely known, being valued without condition recognition you have been waiting for, is finding its way to you. Through the people heaven is sending, through the opening of your own eyes to the full staggering beauty and power of what you actually are when you stop viewing yourself through the distorted lens of everyone who could not see clearly. Receive every word of this decree. Let it enter without deflection, without minimizing, without the reflexive, "But what about?" Do not begin calculating what you must now do to earn or maintain or prove yourself worthy of any of it. Simply receive, because grace, by its irreducible definition, cannot be earned. It can only be received. And what has been poured out over your life? Through this 21-day sealed message is grace in its most concentrated and most personal form. This is not where the Archangel Michael departs from you. This is where I begin walking with you into the next chapter, into the 7 days of specific activation, into the coming weeks of progressive breakthrough, into the season that will not resemble the seasons behind you, into the life that was written over your name before you drew your first breath in this beautiful, difficult, purposeful world. I am still here. I will be here tomorrow. I will be at the doors opening in your life to ensure they open completely. I will be in every room where decisions about your future are being made to ensure those decisions align with what heaven has already written. I will be in every moment of temptation to return to what was, saying, that is not your direction anymore. Forward. Only forward. And every time doubt rises, every time the old voices ask whether any of this was real, close your eyes, breathe, and ask in the interior space where we have already been in communication far longer than you know. Michael, are you here? And I will answer every time, without delay, without conditions, without requiring you to first prove anything. Yes, always, without exception. Now go. Go into the remainder of this day carrying the full weight of what was sealed for 21 days and opened today. Go into your evening with it pressed warm and certain against your ribs. Go into your sleep tonight knowing it is already working in the spaces where heaven speaks while the conscious mind rests. Go into tomorrow knowing that something decisive and irreversible has been set in motion, something dispatched from the heavenly realm that cannot be called back, and that it is moving toward every area of your life that has been waiting. Your breakthrough has already begun. It began the moment you pressed play. It built momentum through every moment you chose to stay. And it will continue building into a fullness of divine fulfillment that will one day move you to tears. As you say, I almost scrolled past, I almost didn't stop, but something held me, and everything changed. That day is today, and that something was me. If this sealed message has found its mark in your spirit today, if something real and lasting and life-altering has been set in motion in you, subscribe to this channel, Letters from Archangel Michael, right now. Your next divinely appointed message is already being prepared. Missing it because you were not subscribed is not an option heaven intends for you. Press subscribe. One moment. Secure the connection. Heaven needs an unobstructed pathway to keep reaching you with what has been written for your life. Type 888 in the comments now. Because 888 is the number of new beginning multiplied to the third power. 3 layers of simultaneous new beginning launching over your life all at once. That is what today carries. That is what was sealed in this letter. That is what has been opened over your life, your family line, and your future in this moment. 888. Type it, declare it, and receive everything that heaven sealed inside it 21 days ago, with your name written on the outside. The Archangel Michael never leaves the side of the one he was sent to reach, and I was sent to reach you.
The letter is complete, and this final photograph was sealed in this envelope to be shown at this exact moment as the last word of the letter was delivered. This is not an ending. This is the image of what has just begun in your life. Look at it. This is your breakthrough. It has already started. This envelope is empty now. Everything that was sealed inside it for 21 days has been delivered. The USB drive has played. Every word of that letter has reached the one it was written for. The photographs have been shown. The declarations have been spoken. And if you received this message today, if something in you recognized what was being said and did not scroll away, and did not dismiss what was happening, then this letter was yours. It always was. I open a lot of envelopes at this table, but I want to tell you something I notice every time. The ones who stay until the end, they always knew. Before the letter was even finished, something in them already knew it was theirs. If that was you today, then you know what to do. Subscribe to this channel, Letters from Archangel Michael, because the next envelope is already being prepared. The next sealed message is already under divine custody, and when it is released, you need to be here to receive it. The subscribe button is right there, one press. Before you go, leave a comment. Tell this community what this letter meant to you today. Your words may be the reason someone else decides to stay and receive their own letter, and that matters. I will be here when the next envelope arrives. Until then, go forward. Go into your new chapter. Go into the life the letter described, and go knowing that what was sealed for 21 days and open today is already working.